press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello children, our discussion is biomolecules. So in our last discussion, we have done the discussion with respect to the structures of proteins. Here we have a discussion on enzymes now. Now all of you will be knowing enzymes are biocatalysts. Which accelerate the rate of biochemical reactions. Essentially, what are these enzymes? These are proteins, predominantly in their three-dimensional structure, that is tertiary structures. We have already done with the primary, secondary and tertiary structures clearly. We have understood that very well. Now these enzymes which are working and carrying out different biochemical processes, they accelerate the rate of a chemical reaction. They accelerate the rate of chemical reaction by decreasing the activation energy. Now there are some simple analysis that we can do with respect to activation energy. In our first year topic in thermodynamics, we have done the discussion in thermodynamics when we are dealing with the thermochemistry part of thermodynamics. We have learned what activation energy is, the minimum amount of energy required for reactant molecules to cross, so to convert to products, because every reaction has got energy barrier. And this you might have done it in kinetics also, in chemical kinetics also. You might have done the analysis of rate constant K. Now, greater the value of rate constant K, faster the reaction. Keep it in mind, in kinetics we are not talking anything with respect to thermodynamic stability. We are talking with respect to kinetics, how fast the reaction will happen. Simple. Rate constant K is inversely proportional to activation energy. That means if activation energy is more, the value of rate constant will be less. That means reaction will occur slowly. Now for reactions to cross a particular energy barrier, we know we have a transition state. And from transition state, there are equal chances for the reactions to happen in both forward or backward directions. What determines whether the reaction will occur in the product side or the reactant side will be the enthalpy change and stabilizing changes. Keep in mind certain things with respect to enzymes. When you look in chemical analysis of enzymes, the thermochemical part of enzymes, remember that enzyme which is a catalyst, it does not alter the value of delta G, it does not alter the value of delta H. Enthalpy is not altered, free energy is not altered. How much free energy a system has to lose, it will lose that free energy, because we know any reaction which has to occur spontaneously, delta G should be negative. So how much free energy it has to reduce in order for any work to be done, for any system to complete the work, how much free energy has to reduce, that will be reduced faster in presence of catalyst. And we know we can have graphical analysis for this also. You know the graph very well, all of you children. So in kinetics also you would have done it. So in absence of catalyst and in presence of catalyst, there are altered rate reactions. So this is activation energy catalyzed, and this one is activation energy for uncatalyzed reaction. This is potential energy. This is course of a reaction. These are reactants. This is product. This energy difference is called as enthalpy change, delta G. Remember that delta G in the reaction is not altered at all. The only thing that will happen is the free energy loss will be faster. Now, enzymes, which I said are biocatalysts that accelerate the rate of chemical reaction by the active site of the enzyme interacts with the reactive site of substrate. Basic language it is. Substrate is actually our reactant molecule and our active sites are present on what? Enzymes. Now, there is specificity between the active site of the enzyme and reactive site of the substrate. So, only a particular enzyme is able to catalyze a particular reaction respectively. And I discuss it in the tertiary structure concept itself. When the folding of the proteins will come into play, different amino acids, usually 12 to 14 amino acids, 12 to 14 amino acids in the whole amino acids of the whole amino acids in that particular protein chain is three-dimensional structure will be engaged in making the active site of enzyme. I'm just talking about the basic pattern. So when the active site of the enzyme is made, usually the amino acids, when the folding will occur, amino acids from various regions will be coming. Suppose if this is the active site, now amino acids from various regions which have folded up will be able to make a pocket structure, which is an active structure, and this will be able to perform a particular function which will be particular to that substrate. Now let me give its analysis a bit at molecular level, because we have to understand the concept of denaturation of enzymes respectively. Generally, we have an enzyme. I'll write down first what's the enzyme plus enzyme plus substrate. Let us mention this by E and this one by S. It gives you enzyme substrate complex, which changes to enzyme product and which separates off in the form of enzyme plus product. So we have substrate, reactant converted to what? Products, and enzyme comes out as such. So enzyme is a biocatalyst which at the end of the reaction remains unchanged. You have seen in chemistry different types of acid reactions, different types of chemical reactions happening in acidic mediums. At the end, the proton will be obtained back. So catalyst has the property. So it is obtained back at the end of the reaction. As a result of that, only minute amounts of enzymes are required for carrying a biochemical process for longer duration of time. Right? So children, as the folding of the enzyme, as the folding of the protein occurs, the active site is developed, which works precisely with the reactive site of the substrate, and products are made. I am not going into deeper details of that discussion. It's understood? And you understood it out in three dimensions. That one is that protein part, the pocket structures are made. Now this is important part. Now suppose children, consider this to be the active site. Consider this to be the active site of enzyme. Now this active site is made up of different R groups like NH3 plus, then you have COO minus, then you have CH2 interacting with CH3, so on and so forth. So different R groups of the amino acids at various positions. Usually I don't write much on the board, but I am getting regular concepts that writing is small or those. So you need to focus on the content also. I'll just improve my writing itself as well. Right. So you can see all these things over here, children. So pocket-like structure is made by these R groups. So what are these R groups having? R groups, the side chains, are having different acidic groups like, basic groups, like acidic groups like NH3 plus, it's a conjugate acid of a base, weak base, which one? NH2. Then you can have conjugate base of a acid carboxylic, so COO minus. Now this particular shape, particular folding of the protein that has occurred here has occurred due to the interaction with, suppose this is NH3 plus and here you have COO minus, or it has occurred due to C double bond O and NH group here, that is hydrogen bonded. So there is either hydrogen bonding, or there are ion-ion interactions, or there are some van der Waals forces like CH3 and CH3 interacting with each other. These are van der Waals forces, these are ionic interactions, and these are hydrogen bonds. So a protein molecule has taken a particular shape. On the basis of its active site, it is able to interact with the reactive site properly, this enzyme. If alteration in temperature comes into play, if I am altering temperature, or I am making the conditions more acidic or more basic, that means I am increasing the concentration of H plus or increasing the concentration of OH minus, that is decreasing pH, that means increasing pH here, correct or not? What will be the impact on the structure of the protein? So what will happen here is, so one is directly by boiling also you can denature the protein. What is denaturation? Denaturation is the loss of biological activity. Now how will a system, how will an enzyme lose its biological activity? When it loses its active site. Now to lose its active site, different groups which are making that active site, there should be some chemical change in those regions, only then this active site can open up. Technically, this folded three-dimensional structure can open up, or alpha helix can open up, which usually will not be the case for alpha end, because they are extremely resistant to the changes that occur around them. However, if you change high limits, if you change pH in the high limits, if you change the external conditions in high limits, yes, there are chances that beta pleated sheets and alpha helical structures may also get altered. I am discussing pure biochemical events, what's happening. You know that every enzyme works at its optimum pH and optimum temperature, which we know it is body temperature and body pH. So slightly acidic to slight alkaline, that is almost 6.92 to 7.01. Just close by scale is the best scale where the enzymes are working very properly in the body, because at this H plus ion concentration in the medium, there is no subtle and hard interaction between the polar groups which are present on the active site of an enzyme. Due to that, active site of the enzyme is maintained and it's able to interact very easily with the reactive site on the substrate. If I'm altering the pH, what are the things that are going to happen? You got NH3 plus here, right? So you have NH3 plus, which is interacting with COO minus. If I alter the pH, that means H plus ion concentration is increased. Now naturally the COO minus will take up the proton and convert to COOH. Once earlier there was interaction between plus and minus charges of these R groups. Now this COO minus will convert to COOH. This ionic interaction will be lost and NH3 group will be freed from the interaction with this COO minus group. Due to that, what will happen? This folded pattern will unfold. As you keep exposing it to more H plus or more OH minus, the charges will keep on breaking, right or not? If you increase the temperature, right, what will happen by increasing temperature? Because you are altering it from the optimum temperature. That's what optimum temperature is. Optimum temperature or optimum pH or simply optimum conditions are the conditions or the stages, or in other words, the concentrations of different electrolytes or altered temperatures or altered conditions at which the active site molecules have perfectly maintained the active site by not going in interaction with the medium. If you alter the H plus and OH minus, you increase the temperature. These van der Waals forces between R groups which were there can also be broken off very easily. If you expose it to the more alkalis and more H plus ions, you can have a chance of breaking of hydrogen bonds also. Due to that, once you are altering the optimum conditions at which the enzyme was working as a best biocatalyst, the folded structure of this will open up. As the folded structure opens up, C double bond ONH gets exposed. These different NH3 plus and COO minus groups get exposed and they can interact with the water now. So it has lost its three-dimensional structure. So it has lost its active site. The process of alteration in the three-dimensional structure of a protein is called as denaturation. And it can happen by the alteration of pH very easily, because if you alter pH, I said the ions, the side chains which are in the ionic form may lose their charge. As a result of that, interactions will not occur between the charges at all. Three-dimensional structure will be completely lost. So even collagen, which is extremely hard, keratin, which is extremely hard, can be broken up by the acids very easily, because alteration in their structures will come into play, because they are best working in their main conformation, in their main structure. If you alter that, you are going to alter the whole three-dimensional structure, a biocatalyst property. So there are structural functions of a protein also, right? So it will lose the structural function. And this was perfectly acting like a globule, right? It was like a globular protein, well dissolved, well moving in the medium. Once denaturation comes into play, it will be altered. There are chances of coagulation and precipitation also coming into play itself. So different protein molecules in the body can start coagulating if you alter the optimum condition. That's what happens in the cell. When you alter the pH, these things can definitely occur in the cells respectively. So enzymes are altered in their activity on changing the conditions respectively. So three-dimensional structure will be altered. Clear or not? So suppose directly you heat it. If you are heating it, you can bring complete changes by interactions. Chains can go away from each other. Whatever the interactions were there due to kinetic energy will break up. Chains will be out of their three-dimensional structures. As a result of that, their functioning will be completely lost. And besides that, enzymes have got, you already would be knowing, children, how to name different enzymes. Oxidoreductases, ligases, hydrolases, lyases. There is one enzyme called catalase. It catalyzes the reaction of, which reaction is catalyzing? Catalase. There is one biochemical process which is carried out by manganese oxide. Fix your mind. That is catalyzed by manganese oxide, which is catalyzed in the body by catalase. The difference is, this is an industrial catalyst and this is a biocatalyst. Its working is far higher compared to man and far superior, far faster and far high turnover number. Turnover number means, what's turnover number? The number of reactant molecules converted to products per unit time by an enzyme molecule, or on how many molecules an enzyme is working per unit time. These enzymes have got different phenomena, like inhibition is there, competitive and non-competitive inhibition is there. Then these enzymes have got the reactive sites, that's active sites. Then there are allocitric sites also. Correct? Enzymes have two classifications on the whole generally: apoenzyme and holoenzyme. So you know those or not? Apoenzyme and holoenzymes. What are apoenzymes? Inactive enzymes, which are non-functional, but they start to work when they start to work, when cofactors are added. So apoenzyme, I'll just tell it basically, apoenzyme plus, yes, cofactor is active enzyme, correct or not? Apoenzyme is, this is holoenzyme, this is inactive, because it needs some additional factors which are called as helpers for their working. And this cofactor can be in two ways: either it can be in the form of prosthetic group, or it can be in the form of coenzyme. So prosthetic group are usually the metal ions like zinc, magnesium, iron, even biotin. Coenzymes can be different vitamins, organic molecules, even biotin can act as coenzyme also. Coenzymes are loosely attached to enzyme. So coenzyme plus apoenzyme equals to what? Actoenzyme, right? Then prosthetic groups are strongly or tightly bound to the protein part, like I told you in the structure of hemoglobin. The histidine is nitrogen is directly coordinated with iron, which is in its +2 oxidation state there, right or not? So these are prosthetic groups. So prosthetic group or coenzyme plus apoenzyme equals to actoenzyme, which is called as holoenzyme. So working of an enzyme is dependent upon these helpers as well. Like in DNA polymerase, I'm just giving you examples, children. There are so many things. DNA polymerase. When DNA polymerase is leading to the polymerization reaction, like what? Nucleotide formation. When there is polynucleotide formation happening, when there is replication happening, one of the important cofactors working with DNA polymerase is magnesium 2+. Because children, if you know, there are 3 negative charges present on oxygen of that nucleotide is phosphoric acid. Those 3 negative charges, only 1 negative charge at a time will be engaged in interactions. To stabilize the other 2 interactions, other 2 negative charges, this magnesium is interacting with those 2 negative charges which are present on that nucleotide. Otherwise, if these negative charges will remain as such in the DNA, it will be unstabilizing. Later when we deal with the nucleic acid, there I will discuss about the structural analysis of the DNA molecule and how it governs its function respectively. Am I clear or not? So these are certain basic things with respect to enzymes. Am I clear, children? And one more discussion that we have to do, children, that is called as vitamins. And you can read those yourself at home itself. So there are 2 different types. What are vitamins? Essential components that need to be taken in trace amounts in the body, so to perform such other functions. As I mentioned, vitamins are essential amines. Initially they were called as vitamins, essential amines. But as later it was seen, the vitamins do not contain any, or vitamins necessarily do not need to have amino acids in it, so they were called vitamins. That E part was removed. They will perform some different functions in the body as well. Essentially our body cannot prepare it. In our gut, vitamins, some of the bacteria in our gut can produce it, so which can be utilized by the bodies. Usually we are not able to prepare these vitamins in our body. We need to take these from outside. We have 2 different classes of these vitamins depending upon their solubilities. We have fat soluble vitamins, and then we have water soluble. Fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, K, and fat soluble vitamins like you have vitamin B complex, and you have got vitamin C. These are readily excreted with the liquid mediums in the body itself, so you need to take the complex, these vitamins very cautiously in the body. And these vitamins which are fat soluble vitamins, on the whole these vitamins need to be taken from outside in the body because they perform different functions in the body. You can see these vitamin A, D, E, K functions of this. So you can write down these A, B, C, D is in the order of their discoveries. Got it? And these are subvitamins. So vitamin B complex, which is made up of B12, B6, so on and so forth. These are water soluble, these are fat soluble vitamins. Important thing is that these need to be taken in the body more ferociously because they are continuously excreted in the body as well. Because they are soluble in medium, they are soluble in water. You know vitamin C, what does it create? What are the different problems that are created by vitamin C? Scurvy. You have the bleeding of the gums coming into play due to the deficiency of these. Vitamin B complex will cause a complex abnormalities in the body. Complex abnormalities in the body in terms of laziness, weakness, there will be effect due to vitamin A, there is an effect on eyesight, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. Similar way, you can have a look on your text and you will find out different functions of these vitamins and where from they can be obtained. It's a general discussion, children. You can have a look on these vitamins respectively yourself only. Clear or not? Even enzymes can be extended further with different types of discussions, but those discussions you should have already covered in your first year or second year topics, wherever it's existing with respect to enzymes. Clear? So there is extreme high level of discussion with respect to enzymes, and enzymes are technically what? Three-dimensional proteins. Technically, enzymes are the active proteins which are performing some structural function as well as functional function. When I say structural function here, it has one meaning. When I am taking functional function here, it means they are able to do different chemical reaction, catalyzing different biochemical reactions in the body. So you can have a look on the vitamins at home, and you can look on the functions and usages and where from these can be obtained in the body. Keep it in mind again, they are essential amines. Earlier they were called as, but essentially they don't contain amino acids in it, so they don't contain amines in it or amino acids in it, so they were later called as vitamin. E was removed. Essentially need to be taken in the body. So small molecules of high importance. Clear or not? Right? Good. So this is the discussion with respect to protein structures, enzyme analysis, and with respect some discussion with respect to enzymes. Now we are done with the discussion of amino acids and the primary, secondary and tertiary structures with respect to amino acids. Discussion has been done. And even with respect to our JEE examinations, usually the concept of isoelectric pH. This is one important discussion that we need to talk about, because this will be extremely fruitful for every one of you, especially for the JEE perspective, for the JEE exams. This is an extremely important concept, because many a times the questions that are asked in proteins with respect to amino acids is with in terms of its charges and the moment during electrophoresis. We have already discussed the Zwitter ion formation in aqueous solution. You will have a Zwitter ionic form. That is a type of amphoteric substance, amphoteric ion, in which net charge of the molecule on the whole is zero, but there are charges present on the amino acids in the Zwitter ion form, a hybrid ion which we discussed in our previous discussions. One important concept that I am going to touch today in biomolecules with respect to proteins only, an important part, keep it in mind, it's extremely important, is isoelectric point. Isoelectric point. It is represented by Pi, isoelectric point. Very important. And in proteins, we are using this isoelectric point for the purifications purposes. So we call that as isoelectric focusing. This is not the discussion of our study. Our discussion is with respect to isoelectric point. Now, as I said, isoelectric point, what exactly is this? Isoelectric point, actually, it is a pH at which there is no net movement of amino acid in presence of electric field. And we have already said that the moment of amino acids or moment of ions under the influence of electric field is detected out by the experiments, and we call that process as electrophoresis. Electrophoresis, that is movement of charged particles under the influence of electric fields. In this case, what we have a setup which has got the positive and negative electrodes means positive and negative sides. If the amino acid which has been given to you, I'm being very slow here so that you can understand this concept very precisely and very accurately. So if the net charge, if there is no net charge on an amino acid, it will neither move towards cation nor move towards, either move towards cathode nor towards anode respectively. Now how does it exactly happen? If you look on general amino acid, under normal circumstances, if you look on an amino acid, you will find out that at neutral pH, the pH ranging from close to neutral pH, the pH ranging from 5.2 to 5.3. Okay, let us not mention it out here. At neutral pH, close to H plus and OH minus ion concentrations are equal, we find out the amino acids are in double charged state. Then there is H and we have got one side chain R. Now what can happen is at neutral pH both COO minus and NH3 plus can show the reaction. So if there is high content of H plus, it will be taken up by COO minus. So how exactly that scenario comes into play? We have already discussed this pattern earlier as well. Now in this case, you can see that as we have discussed earlier, there are three types of amino acids we have. What are those? This is a neutral amino acid. Suppose for this the side chain is CH3. This is alanine. Correct or not? With the side chain of CH3. We can have one acidic amino acid as well, like we have glutamic acid. So we have again C alpha, then you will have COO minus, then you will have NH3 plus, then you will have hydrogen, and then side chain will be CH2, CH2, COOH respectively. So it has got two carboxylic groups present on it and it has got one NH3, that's ammonium ion present on it. Am I clear with this? Now this is acidic amino acid. Basic amino acid like lysine you have. So when you draw the structure of basic amino acid like lysine, it is C alpha. Then you got COO minus. In basic amino C, here COH are more than NH3 group. Now COO minus, then you got H, then you got NH3 plus, and then you have CH2 4 times NH2 respectively. So NH2 will be in the form of NH3 plus. Now under what circumstance, under what pH, the three amino acids that I have taken into consideration, at what pH the net movement of these amino acids towards their respective electrode will not come into play. That pH is called as isoelectric point. And if you want to find out isoelectric point for any amino acid, then PI, isoelectric point, I have just given you the basic classification here. Let us suppose this is COO minus. I will tell you at what pH what will exist. This is alanine, neutral amino acid, and this is lysine. What is this? Basic amino acid. Because NH2 groups are more than COH groups. So NH2 will be protonated in the form of NH3 plus respectively. Have a look. There is a net charge on this molecule, there will be a net negative charge on the molecule. So there will be a net plus charge on the molecule, net charge of this 0. Out of these three, only this one is existing in the form of Zwitter ion, because Zwitter ion does not only mean that it has both plus and minus charge, that is dipolar ion, rather it is net charge should be 0, its net charge is 0. Now in this case net charge is 0, but in these two circumstances net charge is not 0 at all. So we need to alter the pH, we need to keep altering the pH so that we can find out that this additional COO minus or that additional NH3 plus group that is present, this will deprotonate itself so that it converts to NH2. Once this deprotonates and converts to NH2, we will have an amphoteric ion, we will have a hybrid ion which will be a Zwitter ion. So that pH will be its isoelectric pH. Am I clear? Now looking on this, we need to alter the pH so that we will have one of the two accepting the proton. Once one of the two accepts the proton, what will happen at that particular pH? You can have both of these protonated, then it will be in the form of cation. Yes or no? So if one of the two is protonated, we'll have this one converted to COOH, and there will be a hybrid ion formation, we'll have Zwitter ion formation coming to play. Am I clear? So altering the pH. So if you keep altering the pH. Now, how to find out the PI? How to find out this isoelectric point for any amino acid? Remember that for any amino acid, isoelectric point is equal to half of pKa1 plus pKa2. Usually they will mention pKa1, pKa2. What is it? What does it mean? pKa1 and pKa2 is the dissociation constant of an acid. We already know it according to Henderson's equation also, and we know according to general postulate also. You need to keep a focus here. According to general postulate also, children, we know pH is negative log of H plus ion concentration. Am I clear with this thought here? Yes? Good. Now pH is negative log of H plus. Similar way, we have pKa, which is negative log of K. Negative log of K is what? pKa. So for any acid to be a very strong acid, if an acid has to be a strong acid, Ka has to be more, right? When K is more, what is Ka equal to? It is equal to, suppose we have acid in the form of Ha. When it breaks, it gives you H plus A minus divided by Ha. All of you know this is a basic equilibrium equation. So if K has to be more, then Ha should be less. More of Ha should be dissociated. That means H plus and A minus concentration, which is conjugate base, it will be more, right? So that when A minus is more, because A minus equals to H plus ion concentration will also be higher. So K will be more. So when K is more, negative log of K, so K is more, negative of more is less. So for any acid to be strong acid, Ka should be more, pKa should be less, because that's negative log of Ka. Am I clear? So it is pKa1 plus pKa2. Usually Ka1 and Ka2 are in order, where Ka1 represents a stronger acidic group and pKa2 represents a weaker acidic group respectively. Am I clear with the thought? And already discussed it out, there are amino acids or COOH groups present on the side chains at what position? The amine group or the carboxylic group which is present close to the alpha carbon will show different acidity and basicity respectively. So how do we determine out? For suppose, sir, we have three groups here. Suppose we have NH3 plus, we have COO minus. This is conjugate base now, right? It will be a conjugate base. Now let me discuss it out in these parameters now. Is it clear so far? Oh, clear. Let me take one particular example for explaining this isoelectric pH. Okay. Now when will you define or when will you discuss isoelectric focusing or isoelectric pH? It will be discussed when you have got a Zwitter ion, when the net charge on the molecule is 0. On the whole, how do you find it out? Let us suppose we start with a solution wherein you have a Zwitter ion. Okay, so Zwitter ion form will be C alpha. Okay, then you got COO minus, then you got NH3 plus, then you got H, then you got CH3. Again, I'm talking about the same amino acid what I talked a while earlier. Understand it well. Does it have any net charge on it? Remember that close by value. You should remember this out clearly. So for amino acids and their PI values, for a acidic amino amino acid acidic amino acid, then you have neutral amino acid and basic amino acid. For acidic amino acid, usually the pi value will be in the range of 5. Am I clear or not? It will be in the range of 5 pi value. For neutral amino acids, it's in the range of, it's almost close to the value 3, children. Sorry, for acidic amino acid, close to the value of 3. Neutral amino acid, it's from 5.2 to 6.3 almost. And for basic amino acids, it is in the range from 9.1 to 10 respectively. These are arbitrary values. So basic amino acids exist as a zero ion, and it is isoelectric pH will be this one. For neutral amino acids 5.2 to 6.3, and for acidic amino acids is 3. Now you can understand that how. For a neutral state, for this to exist in case of what? Acidic amino acid, what did I say? The pH is 3. Now have a look. When pH is 3, for neutral amino acid, when pH is 5.2 to 6.3, that means H plus and OH ion concentration is almost the same. Correct or not? So due to that, either NH3 plus or COO minus, this can also show the reaction, and this can also show the reaction. Means it will be actually in the presence of COOH, and you will have C alpha in the form of NH2. This can also show the reaction because H plus concentration is somewhat moderate. It can convert to NH3, and even COH can show the reaction and convert to what? CO minus, right? It can lose itself off. So deuterion formation is possible. Now what if we have, this is for neutral amino acid. So what if we have an acidic amino acid? In acidic amino acid, the carboxylic groups will be more. So in order to neutralize that COO minus, what needs to happen is H plus ion concentration needs to be higher, which will protonate one of the carboxylic groups and lead to the formation of a deuterion for us. Similar way for basic group, you can understand it should be from 9.1 to 10. Our question is very simple now. Suppose children, we have C alpha and we have COO minus, then you got CH2, 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 COO minus like in glutamic acid, then you have H, then you have NH3 plus. You will be given pKa values for these, right? So for this one it will be given, suppose COOH it is mentioned to you, okay? So COOH it is mentioned to you. So we'll be given pKa1. So you have been given here suppose pKa2. For this one it will be pKa3, correct or not? Whenever you have more than one acidic group or more than one basic group, remember that when you want to find out pi, isoelectric point can be found out by the formula half of. You should take into consideration not the pKi of all the three, rather take into consideration the pKa values of two similar functional groups, of two similar reaction showing groups. That will make it pKa1 plus pKa3. And naturally these two will have the lower value of what? pKa. So in acidic medium, when there is acidic amino acid, you have to take into consideration, because when suppose pKa values are given, we have been given pKa value for the three have been given, you have to take two lesser pKa values, because lesser pKa value means stronger acid. That means acidic amino acid for us. So am I clear with this thought here? Right. Okay, if there is a basic amino acid, then you need to take into consideration the higher values of pKa. Higher values of pKa means base, or right or not? Correct. Because for acidic amino acid will have pKa value what? Less. And basic amino acid will have pKa value more. And for neutral amino acid, almost pKa1 will be equal to pKa2. That's why both of these can be in a position to show the reaction. So 1/2 of pK1 plus pK3 for this one. If basic amino acids are there, you have to take the higher values. So remember, for acidic amino acids, take out the pKa values which are lower, and for basic amino acid, take the pKa values which are higher. This is how you can calculate the, so if some values are also given to you, on the basis of that you will be able to find it out very easily. So generally for acidic amino acids, the isoelectric pH will be in the range of acidic zone only. So technically we can say like this, children. Consider 7 is isoelectric pH. 7. Here, this will be the Pi. This is for neutral amino acid. This will be for acidic amino acids. This one will be for basic amino acids. So basic amino acids will have their Pi above 7. Acidic amino acids will have their Pi below 7. I am considering this 7 to be isoelectric Pi for a neutral amino acid respectively. Am I clear? So if the values are given, mostly when the question will be given according to this, children, you will be given values pKa1, pKa2, pKa3, and if you want to find out Pi, then Pi will be found out on the basis of what values, because you will already know it is acidic or basic or neutral, and that's important. That's why it's important to remember the side chain. So every one of you should have this homework done, which I told you last time also during the discussion, that you have to importantly in an amino acid you have C alpha, suppose C alpha, then you have COO minus, then you have NH3 plus. Why I am writing always a deuterium of a neutral amino acid respectively here? Why I am always keeping the amino acids, whether it is acidic or basic, in deprotonated form? Because in aqueous solutions you will always find out the dissociation coming into play very much on all the functional groups respectively. So when the pK values will be mentioned, so you will have H here and you will have R. So the pK values which are mentioned, you should be able to finalize out the pK values which are given. If it is acidic amino, because it will be given with respect to arginine, with respect to asparagine, with respect to glutamic acid, with respect to glutamine, with respect to what amino acid it is given to you, you should know it is side chain. And if you know it is side chain, then you should know whether there are more COOH groups or there are more NH2 groups. If there are more COOH groups, remember that. If it is, that means it's an acidic amino acid, then Pi will be the average of pKa1 plus pKa2 by 2. It will be average of the pKa values which are lower. You need to select the 2 pKa values which are less out of whole of that. And the one, and if you are asked out of the 2 similar groups, out of the 2 similar carboxylic groups, which is more acidic, then the carboxylic group with less pKa value which is given to you will be more acidic. If time permits me, we will do some questions on this as well, on the basis of pH values given. Because till 2017-18 JEE exams, most of the times, the questions from amino acids that were asked were on deuteriums and different forms available from a particular deuterium respectively. Is it clear? Okay. So if it is, now simple, if it is basic, then what you will do? If it is basic, then what values of pK you should take? The higher values. Higher values of pKa1 and pKa2 and average of that. And neutral, as you know, average of pK1, pK2, because there are only two, so there is no need to bother about that, which is higher, which is lower. So when there are two similar groups, simple scenario is, so take down the pKa values of two similar groups in acidic or basic amino acid. That's it. That's as simple as that. Basic trick to understand it. Did you understand clearly? So when in the electrophoretic tank you will let this move, if the number of positive and negative charges are same, then the net moment will not be there towards any of the electrode at all. As a result of that, it will get stagnant in the particular region of that electrophoretic tank. And I have last time told you how do we maintain that pH from highly acidic to highly basic pH if you keep doing and you put an amino acid there. So when the amino acid moves through the gradient, the pH is getting altered, and naturally if it is acidic amino acid, it will find it is pI below 7 only, so it will stop there. When it is moving under the influence of the charges, and this is pH gradient here, pH gradient, technically I will say pH is changing from 0 to 14 as the amino acid will keep on moving, as amino acid keeps on moving. Wherever it will meet its isoelectric pH, it will stop there. So if you have put a solution of amino acids in an electrophoretic tank or during electrophoresis, during gel electrophoresis, you will find out amino acid stopping at varying regions, indicating various pIs of amino acids. So that proves that isoelectric pH of different amino acids will be different depending upon their side chain. So it depends upon the nature of the side chain as well. I hope I am clear with the thought here. So a general thing to say at the end with respect to this isoelectric pHs, children. Yes, tell me. Very important. This is extremely important. For neutral amino acids, Pi equals to half of pKa1 plus pKa2, average of this. For acidic amino acid, Pi equals to small p and capital I. Pi equals to half of, again, pKa1 plus pKa2, pKa1 and pKa2. Lower to pKa values. Okay, for this is the basic trick. For basic amino acids, what is Pi equal to half of pKa1 plus pKa2, higher pKa values. Simple thing to remember is, yes, pKa values of two similar functional groups. So in basic amino acid it will be NH2 groups, and in acidic amino acid it will be COH group. Am I clear with the thought here with respect to isoelectric pH? So focus on this concept more precisely and more accurately, so to get the answers done from it clearly, right? So if I get some time, we will discuss some important problems on this respectively. So before I wind up this discussion of isoelectric focusing, so let me put forward one question. We have a neutral amino acid. At low pH, in aqueous solution, we have an aqueous solution of a neutral amino acids. At low pH, it will move towards. So we have a question. A neutral amino acid like glycine aqueous, pH of solution is decreased under the influence of electric field, it moves towards. So in a cell, electrolytic cell, it moves towards one, cathode, second, anode, third, no moment. It doesn't move towards any of the amino acids at all, and none of these, or cannot be predicted. Now tell me, we have a neutral amino acid like glycine. We are decreasing the pH of the solution. Now when you put it under electrophoresis, when you put it under the electric field, what will happen to the amino acid? What will happen to its moment? Now glycine amino acid, if you look children, it is in the aqueous solution, so this will exist in the form of Zevitrion at neutral pH. It is in the form of as I mentioned out. So we have C alpha, then you have COO minus, then you have NH3 plus, then you have H, and we know side chain is also H, because R equals to H for glycine. Equilibrium will exist towards which of the two forms? Simple thing is cathode towards cathode. So this is cathode. What moves towards cathode? Cations. So what's the charge of cation? Plus. So if this amino acid has plus charge, it will move towards cathode. And if it has minus charge, it will move towards anode. Sorry, if it has minus charge, it will move towards anode, which is positively charged. Simple. Now what am I doing is, I am decreasing pH. pH is negative log of H plus ion concentration. So if I decrease H plus, if I am decreasing H, I am decreasing what? pH. I am decreasing pH. That means H plus ion concentration will be increasing. So I am increasing H plus ion concentration. Once I increase H plus ion concentration, you have COH group, CO minus and NH3 plus. H plus is increased. Now NH3 plus, if it loses a proton, it increases the concentration of H plus in the medium, which is not possible because it's in equilibrium. So according to Lecher-Leo's principle, a system will try to decrease that H plus ion concentration. How can that happen? This H plus will be taken by COO minus, which is a conjugate base. Now as it accepts, it becomes what? COOH. Then you have C alpha. Here you will have NH3 plus, you have H here and you have H here. Now the net charge is what? Plus is the net charge on that amino acid. So it's a cation now, right? So it will move towards cathode or anode. It will move towards what charge? This is cation. It will move towards cathode, right or not? So it will start to move towards what electrode? Negative electrode respectively, because the charge on that, net charge on that is plus. Am I clear? The same amino acid, if it is there, look what will happen. If you are altering the pH, that means what you do now is you are increasing the OH ion concentration. That means you are increasing pH. OH minus ion concentration is increased. That means increase of what? pH. Now what will this do? OH ion concentration is being increased now here, right? So it's becoming basic. Now COO minus cannot accept a proton because there is more of OH. To neutralize that OH, what will happen is this H plus ion concentration H plus will be lost from NH3. So this will revert back to what? I'll just show the diagram here. What will happen to this? It will convert to NH2, yes. Then you will have C. It will be in the form of negative charge only. You will have H here, you will have H. Now it converts to what? Anion. It will move towards what? Anode. Clear or not? So this is what I said earlier. That's why, children, that proteins can also act as buffers. Amino acid solutions can act as buffers to less extent because they can alter the change, they can resist the change in pH by making their CO minus or NH3 plus groups to come in the reaction. That's why we said Zwitter ions act as ampholites or amphoteric. Depending upon the medium, they can act as both acid as well as base. If they act as both acid and a base at the same time, then it will be a neutral amino acid. Otherwise, acidic and basic amino acids, as I mentioned out clearly. Hope I am clear with the statement here. Right? Similar way, you can talk about many amino acids. Most important thing to every one of you is, children, that remember to memorize the side chains, which is very important, because only then you will be in a position to find out whether in the aqueous solution it will be more in the cationic or anionic form, because if you don't know side chains, it will be very difficult for you to comprehend it out. Am I clear? Side chains are extremely important, and for the concept of isoelectric point also, side chains are extremely important to be known, because if you know side chains, with ease you will be able to write down whether it is acidic or basic amino acid. So according to that, according to the answer calculation also, the reference range which I have given, you will be able to calculate the PI values as well. So if your PI values are coming in the range, you may cross check your answer by yourself that you have got the exact correct answer on the basis of the values. Clear or not? Right. Keep it in mind, extremely important for JEE exams, and this mostly JEE exams, they don't ask the primary structure of protein, secondary, tertiary structures. Yes, they may ask about forces, they may ask about hydrogen bonded atoms, they may ask about the weakest interactions there, yes, and they can ask about the isoelectric point. So what's isoelectric point? It's a pH at which there is no net migration of amino acids under the influence of electric fields. Clear?